Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, let's talk some boxing. So, before I go on, John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." God's Son is Jesus. So, get Jesus in your life and you got everlasting life, man. It's that simple. Alright, let's get into the boxing. Just watch Yuriorkis Gamboa versus Rene Alvarado. Rene Alvarado could box a bit, man. Boy could box a bit. I didn't think that knockdown that happened in the 10th round was a knockdown. I don't really count it as a knockdown, though. He didn't knock down Alvarado. But he didn't knock down Gamboa. But Alvarado is a good boxer, man. He's solid. You know, he reminds me a little bit of this guy. What's his name? He got good boxing skills, man. People were saying that Gamboa didn't impress. I thought Gamboa did very well. This is a boxing chess match. It was a chess match. The guy was playing chess with Gamboa. He had the reach and length advantage. I think Gamboa did very well, considering that. I guess people are expecting Gamboa to go stop this dude, but from what I see here, this dude has never been stopped. Oh yeah, he's never been stopped. Hold on, let me pull up his Alvarado, and I get why. He's a defensive fighter. Actually been stopped once by Andrew Cancio. Yeah, he's been stopped once. But he hadn't been stopped very often, so that tells me a lot about the guy. And he's from Nicaragua, the same place where Chocolito was from and Alexis Seguela. So these guys are generally polished fighters. So I'm not really surprised, man. And then Gamboa's coming off a layoff, so yeah. And the dude is 5'7" with 72-inch reach. He's kind of like Floyd's dimensions. Compared to Gamboa, a short little dude. He's like Pacquiao's dimensions. He's 5'5.5", 65-inch reach. In fact, Gamboa reminds me a lot of Pacquiao. He's a little bit more seasoned in boxing, but he reminds me a lot of Pacquiao style, except he's orthodox, you know. That's why I think that if Terrence Crawford was to face Manny Pacquiao, he'd have some problems because Pacquiao would get on the inside of him, just like how Gamboa got on the inside of him. Just that Gamboa was small, Pacquiao's much bigger. You know what I mean? But and he's southpaw. But you know, it's still gonna be cool. I would love to see Pacquiao versus Crawford. I know Bob Arum wants to see that happen. But of course, since Adrian Broner is at welterweight, Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner would be a good fight as well. I don't know if those things would come off, but it would be nice to see it. So you know, that's what it is. I thought I would just talk about Gamboa again. I don't know what these fight fans expect. You know, these fight fans, or HBO especially, they have an agenda where you have to knock out somebody or whatever, and they don't care about your boxing skill or anything. You know, they think entertainment is all about knockouts. You know what I mean? And these knockout thirsty people, they really are spoiling the sport of boxing, because boxing is not just about knockouts. It's not just about throwing a whole bunch of punches. You know. I think a lot of other people who know boxing understand when they see a level of competition you're facing. Everybody's ranting and raving about David Lemieux's knockout of Curtis Stevens. How vicious a knockout, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care about that fight. You notice I haven't talked about it much. Did I talk about it at all? I think I talked about it in terms of results. But I didn't really talk about it. I saw the fight. It was, to me, it was just below average. Basically, if I was to summarize what happened with Lemieux and Curtis Stevens, I knew Curtis Stevens, he not no boxer. He ain't really got all that skill, you know what I mean? But Curtis Stevens, he kept on getting popped with that right hook. You know, Lemieux would jab and just hit him a weak side. Just go weak side, hit him over his shoulder, because he don't keep his shoulder proper, so he can get caught over the top, overhand rights, nonstop. You know, just popping him with overhand rights. Wasn't really effective with anything else. Curtis Stevens, sometimes they throw the overhand right, and while Lemieux is trying to get his hand back into position, because he's very lazy getting his hand back in position for defense, Curtis Stevens will pop him with a left hook, you know. So that's basically what that fight was about. In the end, Curtis Stevens, he got popped with a straight right, and basically David Lemieux came back with a left hook. Right hand, left hook combination, that's what put people to sleep. And he put Stevens to sleep with that. Lemieux's a hard puncher. He ain't much of a boxer, but he's a hard puncher. And he was able to knock out Stevens that way. That's basically what happened. The only scary thing was that Stevens was out for quite a while. And people were wondering if, he was dead or something, and that was scary. But other than that, that was a D-level fight. That was a D-level fight. That's the sad thing about it. People love D-level fights. Man, just go in a bar and watch two guys throw hands. Because if that's what you want, if that's the standard of boxing you want on television, man, why people will have to train? Why people need to go train and learn boxing? Shoot. Man, just put two average Joes in there and just watch them bang one another. That's what you guys like. Blood, guts, and gore, right? Knockouts, right? You didn't have no special training, right? Because y'all don't appreciate when you see a good boxing match. Gamboa versus Rene Alvarado was a good boxing match. Nobody knocked nobody out, but hey, it's skills, and you got to know what they're doing in there. But most people, as Roger Mayweather said so truly, don't know anything about boxing. They don't. They don't know anything about boxing. Right? So the people watching boxing who make the most noise and talk about the sport is dying and so on, the people who are bashing boxing don't know anything about the sport of boxing to start with. And they're not trying to educate themselves, and they're always negative, so that the people now, the casual fans who come in, they hear these loudmouths talking about how boxing is boring and it's dying, and the greatest of the boxers, they're boring and man, and that wasn't so back in the day with Sugar Ray Leonard's period. If Sugar Ray Leonard was boxing today, they'd call him boring, because you can't have somebody like Guillermo Rigondeaux who's knocking out people left, right, and center, breaking men's jaws. And he's a boring fighting. That makes no sense whatsoever. None. He's so feared. Some of the champions that used to be in his division of super bantamweight, they moved up and out of the division so they wouldn't face him. That's how feared that dude is. You understand what I'm saying? This is not like Gennady Golovkin, who they avoid Gennady Golovkin. And the guy is pretty to watch. He got the great foot movement. He's sharp. He's fast. He's small. For being a super bad, I just don't get it, man. I just don't get how people could be so, how they can be so ignorant of the sport of boxing and so biased against certain people. Somebody's good when people start talking negative and jealous about them. All right, Guillermo Rigondeaux was so good that he beat Nolito Donaire, and Bob Arum would never forgive him for that. And it's Bob Arum. Is this guy who started off with, this boxer is boring, and people just went with it. Imagine Manny Pacquiao, a whole set of people from the Philippines who don't know anything about boxing, be talking about running, and everybody went with it. Oh, you run it. Oh, you ran like a chicken. Because you, the boxer, are incapable of cutting off the ring. It's your insufficiency. You are deficient as a boxer, and now you're going to put it on the other guy? See, this is the kind of nonsense that we got to deal with in the sport of boxing, man. We got ignorant people talking real loud with agendas, right? And then we got these casual fans who they don't know anything about boxing too, so they just go with the flow. Oh, he's running. He's holding. He's hugging. They should ban hugging. It's not even called hugging. It's called clinching. You know what I mean? They don't even know the terms of boxing, but they talk. So you got these big mouth, empty-headed people talking about boxing, and you see them now. You see the guys in boxing play on that. So you got guys from the Ring magazine. I ain't gonna put them on blast, but the guys from some of the guys from Ring magazine, I heard them talking about Mayweather Pacquiao was the most boring fight. I hear Oscar De La Hoya saying that. Oh, this won't be Mayweather Pacquiao. Well, if it ain't gonna be Mayweather Pacquiao, what you just told me is it's not gonna be a high-level boxing bout. That's what you just basically saying. It's either a mismatch or the guys and they just not on that level. Right? So you have the British people, you have the British media, you have the British boxers, you have the British public, you have the British boxing fans appreciating what some of these dumb, empty-headed American boxing fans and people from other parts of the world, like the Philippines, don't appreciate. We got HBO with the dumbed-down, stupid-sounding commentary on boxing. This is what we have. These are the people destroying the sport. People who do not, like Roger Mayweather said, they don't know anything about boxing. They just don't. Then we have some of these historians. You're a historian. You're supposed to provide history. You're not supposed to tell people about boxers. You're not supposed to try and evaluate a boxer unless you know boxing. You're a historian. You're supposed to be able to tell us at such and such a time what happened. Stay in your lane. But no, we have historians trying to predict fights and saying, and they talk so ignorantly. I remember, forgive him, but Bert Sugar. Mayweather's afraid to face Manny Pacquiao. This is what Bert Sugar said. He a historian. He should know better. He should know the game better than that. You know what I mean? He actually jumped on the gravy train and said Floyd afraid to face Pacquiao. And drug testing. Oh, wow. Drug testing. There's Nevada there. Drug testing my foot. Now, Pacquiao took the drug test and he's taking drug testing all up to this day. The late great Bert Sugar, thank God for him, because he was able to bring to attention guys like Sam Langford. But dude, you a historian. That's what you do. Don't be trying to put down a fighter in the modern age era and you don't even know what's going on. So we got a lot of people who talk in boxing, but they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to say it again. There's a lot of people who talk boxing, but they don't know what they're talking about. Got people in boxing who know boxing shaking their heads like, man, that ain't right. That ain't right. You're bringing negative attention to the sport of boxing. You're going to take a guy who's the face of boxing, Floyd Mayweather. You're going to take a guy right now who I think is the best boxer in boxing today, in Andre Ward, and you can call him boring? Really? He fought an ugly fight. Wait. Hold on. You're saying that Andre Ward fights an ugly fight, that he's boring when he doesn't fight an ugly fight. So when he outboxed Barrera, he outboxed him, dropped him, he was boring, right? But when he beat Sergey Kovalev, he's ugly, right? Oh, Andre Ward is not an inside fighter, I heard a guy tell me. He don't inside fight. He hold and clench and hug. And I'm like, dude, you just don't know boxing. You wouldn't say something stupid like that. Unless you are a casual fan. You posing like you a real fan of boxing. But if I ask you to tell me what moves a boxer just did or employed and what you think they're going to do next, you can't tell me because you just a casual. If you got to tell me that Andre Ward was hugging Sergey Kovalev and clinching, that's what he was doing, then you don't know boxing. Okay? Because the amount of body shots Sergey Kovalev got that he did not like in that fight. Because the fight turned from an outside fight to an inside fight. Ward was working his way to the inside. Sergey Kovalev was clinching up on Ward so he wouldn't work on the inside. He didn't want that work on the inside. And if you can't see that, I understand why Sergey Kovalev was tired at the end of that fight, then I don't know what to say to you. Because you don't know what you're watching. And that's the problem with most of you guys out there. You talk. You never watch the fights. You never watch what the fighters do in there. You don't watch what they do in there. You're obsessed with power and knockouts and all that nonsense. You don't even know what level a fighter's at. You should be able to... If you're somebody who's knowledgeable in boxing, you can know the level a fighter's at. That's why I have to do a video on the evolution of boxing for you guys. Because you guys don't understand what's going on in this age. You don't understand how boxing evolved and how boxing has changed. You don't understand that. And you listen to some of those old traders. I listen to Buddy McGurk all the time. Oh yeah, he got some jealousy in him. After the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, he was talking about Floyd could never be an all-time great. That ain't an all-time great fight. And all-time greats don't fight like that. I listen to Buddy McGurk. He knows better. I know he's bitter. I know he's jealous. Because you've seen Pernell Whitaker do the same thing Floyd did. And Pernell Whitaker is an all-time great. So don't even go there, Buddy McGurk. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. You know better. You know boxing. See, and I'm just saying.
You don't have a studio.
That, okay.
You're the studio.
All right. I'm just saying that in boxing, if people are going to talk, you gotta watch what is their objective behind what they say. Right? You gotta look at the honesty of it. Gamboa is on HBO. HBO's agenda is to push white fighters. Fighters who can knock out people. If you ain't bring no knockout, they don't like it. Because their audience, certain members of their audience, is all about knockouts. They're all about seeing a white fighter, not a colored fighter, because they're hypercritical about colored fighters. Guillermo Rigondeaux was on HBO. Andre Ward is on HBO. Terrence Crawford is now knocking out people, so they're not saying nothing about Terrence Crawford right now on HBO. But they give Vasily Lomachenko a pass. They give him a pass. He boxed the socks off of everybody. They give him a pass. He's an exciting fighter because he ain't black. Let it have been a black fighter doing that. They done already castigate him. So certain places have agendas. I'm not saying getting a knockout isn't a great thing because it's the way to finalize a fight. I took you out, all right? There's nothing wrong with it. But it's a problem when you ignore every single other aspect of the sport of boxing. It is a sport. It may be a blood sport, but it is a sport. Yeah, you don't play boxing, but it is still a sport. And if other aspects of the boxing game are being utilized, you must appreciate what they are. You don't see top level fighters these days knocking one another out because they conditioned well. They have the will to win more than ever, like all boxers in all time. But they are conditioned well. They're good athletes and they fight smarter. So you will not get boxers today knocking one another out just like that. Errol Spence Jr. is going to walk up to the plate and fight Kell Brook. And he's saying man down. He thinks he's going to break down Kell Brook and knock him out. I'm not saying he won't. He might. Depends on if Kell Brook is on his game or not. But if Kell Brook is on his game, how you going to knock out Kell Brook? That ain't happening. He's too smart a boxer to get knocked out. Because there's things you can do in the ring as a smart boxer to enable that you don't get knocked out. You might get knocked down, but you ain't going to get knocked out. Okay, Kell Brook was stopped by Gennady Golovkin. He was stopped because he was fighting with a broken orbital bone. That's the reason why that fight was stopped. Right? Nothing Kell Brook can do about that. But to tell me that Gennady Golovkin was, Kell Brook was out on his feet and Golovkin was going to finish him, I don't think so. I don't think so. Take a whole lot more. I watched Kell Brook fight this kid, Carson Jones. And he got beat up much more by Carson Jones. He didn't get a broken eye orbital, but he got beaten up much more by Carson Jones than Gennady Golovkin beat him up. So that boy could have kept on going if it wasn't for his eye. All right, he's still slipping, rolling, catching certain punches. All right? And my point being this. My point is this. At the highest level, people don't knock out one another like it used to be back in the day because guys got chins now. Guys well conditioned now. Right? When Danny Garcia caught Robert Guerrero with that shot he hit him with, and Guerrero kept coming, believe you me, if he was a hit, Thomas to hit my Hearns with that shot, Hearns be put to sleep. He'd have put Hearns to sleep. Okay? I'm not playing. He would have slept Hearns with that shot. But there's a different level of conditioning. Boxers today are greater athletes. They're sharper and they're quicker than the guys of yesteryear. I'm not trying to, and they're bigger too. I'm not trying to be biased. I'm not trying to put down guys of yesteryear. It's just a fact. It's a fact. They're much better athletes. And today, guys practice and they dedicate their bodies to boxing. Yesteryear wasn't quite like that. right? Guys used to drink, they used to smoke, and then they prepared for a fight. Today, fighters stay ready all year round. The new breed is just different. So when you talk about boxers today, and you were looking at boxers yesterday, and you're raising this high regard for them because you got more action, or you got more guys who were fighting each other straight up, it doesn't mean those guys fight each other straight up were better fighters than guys today. And it would be amiss of me to just let people spout that nonsense nonstop. It would be remiss of me to do that, because boxing as a sport has evolved. For you to say that the guys of yesteryear were better boxers than the guys of today is to say that the sport of boxing has not evolved. It hasn't. And it hasn't improved. And both things are lies, spouted by disgruntled people who want the sport of boxing to go a certain way. And they palm it off on ignorant people who don't know anything about boxing. And these are the people who say, I watched boxing for 20 years, 30 years. You can watch boxing for 100 years and still not know anything about it. Because you've never tried to understand the sport, and you've never tried to learn what the sport really is about. Because what the sport really is about is contrary to what you think it is. A guy can have power. He can be a very powerful fighter. But his guidance missiles, or the thing that directs him to lock into his target, he does not utilize that thing effectively. So he's powerful, but he can't hit his target when he wants to hit his target. A guy can be very, very strong. He's very strong as a boxer, but he does not throw his punches correctly. It does not translate into power. So you hear boxers say, this guy is very, very strong, but when it comes to the power of his punch, it's not exceptionally powerful. A guy can be very strong and considered a power puncher, but actually his punches are more fast than they are powerful. Then you talk about guys who have heavy hands. They're heavy-handed. Their bone density is tremendous. So when they punch you, it's like you get hit by a brick. But they're not very fast. So they do damage, but they don't knock out fighters. Guys like Provatnikov. Guys like Maidana. Heavy-handed dudes. They hit you, they're going to do damage. But they don't necessarily knock you out. So a guy who has good speed and good power may knock out fighters much more than a guy who's heavy-handed but not good speed but great power. Alright? You find that the guys who really knock out guys are usually guys who have long levers, they have long hands, they're lanky, they're slim, so that they give you enough pop, but they do it at such a speed that they snap your head back. And by snapping the head back or twisting the neck muscles, they're able to slam the brain into the skull and short circuit everything. Now there are guys who are able to take some of the steam off of those punches, and so they don't get knocked out. Julio Cesar Chavez, Roberto Duran, Danny Garcia. They call these guys guys with a hell of a chin, but they take off some of the steam of the punch by going with the punch. They ride the punch pretty well. Now sometimes they get hit point blank. Wow! And you see the whole head snap back. But they don't blank out. Or they blank out, but they catch themselves. They recover very rapidly. We call those guys guys with a hell of a chin. Okay? So, at the end of the day, if you don't understand boxing, all of these things don't make no sense to you. All you're looking for is a guy, oh, he hit him with a straight right and he went down. You know, that kind of stuff. Which You're not worried watching to see how the boxer's already started to unfold his strategy on another boxer. You think Buster Douglas just knocked out Mike Tyson out of the clear blue sky? Go watch the fight. Break, and then you will understand what I'm talking about. It wasn't by chance he knocked out Mike Tyson. It wasn't by chance at all. Buster Douglas is a pretty decent boxer. He was able to outbox Mike Tyson. That's how he stopped him. And boxing is not just moving around the ring in a circle and sticking and moving. That's not boxing. That's one aspect of boxing. See, a lot of you guys don't know what, like I said before, you guys don't know boxing. Right? You don't understand boxing. So you start to, that's why I hear people lump Floyd Mayweather with Erislandy Lara, and you lump him with, let me tell you, two cats who are more like Floyd Mayweather than all them super welterweights you described. Actually, three of them. Floyd ain't like Erislandy Lara. He's not like Demetrius Andrade. He's like Jermall Charlo and Jermell Charlo. They both have characteristics that make them very similar to Floyd. In fact, they're more similar to Floyd than even Canelo is similar to Floyd. But Canelo Alvarez is another guy that's like Floyd Mayweather. He can do things that Floyd does. Alright? But if you want to really know the two cats who are really dangerous, and they're the guys to watch at, it's Jermall Charlo and Jermell Charlo. They still young pups. But believe you me, them two boys, they're not to be messed with. If Demetrius Andrade go up against Jermell Charlo will beat him. Or Jermall Charlo. They still inexperienced. They're young pups, like I said. But them boys got skills. They have a certain degree of skills. You're talking about Randy, what's his name? Randy Shields? Is it Randy? No, he's not Randy Shields. Ronnie Shields. Ronnie Shields has always trained very good fighters. Ronnie Shields was the trainer of Jesus Chavez, the guy that fought Floyd Mayweather. Buddy McGurk had something to do with Adrian Granados. Alright? Them Chicago fighters ain't easy, man. I think of Carlos Molina too. Carlos Molina is an underrated, skilled boxer. They say he look ugly, but he don't look ugly. The thing about it is, Carlos Molina, that boy is able to nullify anything the other fighter's doing and counter them. And lead off and beat them. That boy could fight. That boy could fight. Carlos Molina, super welterweight, could fight. I believe he beat Erislandy Lara. That boy could fight. Alright? Unfortunately, because of his situation with rape case, he had to stay on the D-Lo, but that boy could fight. So I'm just saying that I'm telling you some guys in boxing for you to pay attention to. They may not be big names, you know, they don't have all the fanfare behind them, but they can fight. The dude who fought Demetrius Andrade just recently there, Koke, I think is his name. That boy could fight. He can fight. You understand? He can fight. And I remember somebody saying, you sleeping on this dude. That dude could fight. He reminds me a little bit of Adrian Granados. Them boys could fight. Granados could fight. Koke could fight. They never really got to shine in the spotlight. But these are guys who could fight. Okay? They're for real. They're the real deal. And this dude that fought Gamboa, Rene Alvarado, he can box. He can fight. He can fight. He can fight. You know? So I'm just saying that a lot of times people don't understand the level of boxing. And if you watch, there's levels to this sport. So there's times when a guy don't look good and you discredit, like a Sergio Mora versus Shane Mosley. Now I know Shane Mosley got his tail whooped by Floyd, and he's coming off a loss like that. It's a bad beating, by the way, because Floyd didn't knock him out. He just kept on beating him for 12 rounds. So it's not cool. But he came off of that and fought Sergio Mora, and Sergio Mora proves to be a very good boxer. Do I think he's excellent? No, but Sergio Mora beat some pretty decent names. All right, he drew Shane Mosley, then he beat who was it? I think it's Vernon Forrest. Was that a Vernon Forrest? I think he beat Vernon Forrest. Or was it Winky Wright? I can't remember which one. But Sergio Mora is not a joke. He can box. You know what I'm saying? He's a little bit scrappy. I don't like how he's not very accurate and stuff, but he understands the principles. So when I think about that, I think about Danny Garcia versus Gennady Golovkin. If Danny Garcia, I would say, not Danny Garcia, Danny Jacobs. I would suggest to Danny Jacobs that he goes and he watches footage of Vince Philip versus Costa Azul. I would advise him to go watch that thing. Go watch it like 10, 20, 30 times. I want him to watch it. I want him to really watch Vince Phillips versus Costa Azul. He needs to watch that thing because he's going to understand what is necessary to beat a guy like Gennady Golovkin. Golovkin's going to bring the pressure on you. Don't get it twisted. He's going to put that pressure on you. He's going to try and cut down that distance from the opening bell. He's going to try and put that pressure so that Danny Garcia is not comfortable. Danny Jacobs is not comfortable. And Danny Jacobs on the back foot. Danny Jacobs got to understand that. And he got to put pressure back on Golovkin. It's the mentality. It's the principle. You don't let Golovkin get the advantage on you from the get-go. Right? Don't let him push you back either. You have to push him back. Alright? And there's no way that Danny Jacobs is on the level of a Lemieux or a Curtis Stevens. Alright? He's much better fighter than both of them. So, Danny Jacobs needs to push Golovkin back, or at least keep him in the center of the ring. Watch Vince Phillips versus Costa Azul. Danny Jacobs is the miracle man. God can do miracles. Watch Vince Phillips versus Costa Azul. Danny Jacobs better be in the best shape of his life, because that is what it will take to beat a guy like Gennady Golovkin. And you cannot only go headhunting with Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin has a hard head. Alright? You have to go to Gennady Golovkin's body, and you have to work his body. Jab to the pit will be an effective weapon, but there are other weapons that you must utilize against Golovkin's body to be able to hurt him. And you have to be able to catch and shoot. I would advise him to also watch at the fight Diego Corrales versus Angel Manfredi. Diego Corrales versus Angel Manfredi. You got to learn how to catch a shot and counter. You must be able to catch and counter. Okay? So, Golovkin is there to be hit, but where he gets hit is usually places where he's strongest in. And he can use the high guard and block up his body. So if you jab to the pit more than twice and he realizes what's going on, he'll cover up that area, which will leave you open for other shots that you can land on him. You have to be able to catch a shot from Golovkin and then reply with a shot. You cannot just catch a shot and stay there in defensive mode against Golovkin. You got to catch him in between the beats. All right? Because he's gonna try and walk you down, which means you have to square up to walk you down. And once he squares up, you have to make him pay for squaring up every single time. All right? As he comes, he's trying to come chasing after you. He's going to try and come up behind the high guard, square up and come behind the high guard. If he drops that high guard, you must make him pay for it. You must make him pay for dropping that high guard. He dropped the high guard, you make him pay. He overreached, you make him pay. Any kind of sloppiness, you make him pay. You make him miss and you make him pay. You block him, you make him pay. You have to have defense on point. And you beat Golovkin. It's that simple. But you gotta go watch Vince Phillips versus Costa Azul. Put that thing on replay and watch it over and over again. You will understand what I'm talking about with the mentality that is necessary to beat a Gennady Golovkin. Particularly the mentality. And in terms of exchanges, you watch a Diego Corrales versus Angel Manfredi. It's an epic fight because Diego Corrales did some things in there, and they'll talk about it. The commentators will talk about it, and that's exactly what you need to do with a guy like Gennady Golovkin. It's catch and shoot. But to catch and shoot him, remember he comes with hooks mostly, and he comes with a very powerful jab. You must be able to parry that jab, block that jab, but you must respond with something in return. You must make him miss and make him pay. That's the only way he's going to think twice. And once he starts to doubt himself, because he commits to doing things, but once he starts to doubt himself, now he uses a lot of hand feints, like Costa Azul. He uses a lot of hand feints to redirect what he wants to do. Sometimes he's observing you to see what kind of shot he can pull off on you. So he will change up. He'll feint a shot and then he'll come with another shot, right? but he's more offensive with his feints than he's defensive with his feints. And that is where Gennady Golovkin, in his head, dude don't move his head. He really doesn't move his head. But that don't mean nothing. If somebody doesn't move their head, it doesn't mean anything if you can't capitalize on that. Because you're reacting to their other feints and their other movements because they already imposed their will on you, because you already felt their power and you try to do something and you got tagged. So that's what happens to most fighters against Gennady Golovkin. They don't know how to deal with him in the ring. But just like with Costa Tszyu, there is a way to deal with the dude, but you're going to have to get popped. He's going to hit you. No ifs or buts about it. He's going to hit you, but you must be able to brace for it. You must understand what's coming. You must understand he's studying you, but you must be studying him as well, collect data, so that you can respond to him. Right? He's a smart fighter. He's a smart boxer, but he's mostly an offensive weapon than he is a defensive weapon. Costa Tszyu also was more offensive weapon than defensive. He got a hell of a chin, but you saw what happened when Vince Phillips started to repeatedly hit him and he couldn't make the adjustment. Now, Gennady Golovkin can make some adjustments, but I'm telling you, he's too slow to make certain adjustments against certain fighters because they'll be in position faster than he is. The thing is, don't get yourself into a defensive posture early on in the fight. Jacobs don't have that defense like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, he can handle Gennady Golovkin. He can go into that defense and just be defensive and then counter him. With Danny Jacobs don't have that luxury. His fighting style is such that he can't, on the ropes, he can't really be defensive like that. He's going to square up, use the high guard, and then Gennady Golovkin just pick his shots on him, right? So you can't afford to be like that. You have to be able to, you cannot let him get you to the ropes, let's put it that way. You can't let Gennady Golovkin be walking you on the ropes. You have to be in the center of the ring against Gennady Golovkin. That's where your fight's going to win. That's what Vince Phillips did against Costa Tszyu. He never let Costa Tszyu back him up. He never backed down for Costa Tszyu. You can't afford to back down from Gennady Golovkin, but you got to fight him smart. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm pretty sure Danny Jacobs is aware of this stuff. Well, if he isn't, then he's going to get blown away. But you have to box the dude smart. He's a smart boxer himself. He's going to try and make some adjustments, but he has certain deficiencies you can exploit. But it's not as easy as it sounds to exploit the deficiencies Gennady Golovkin has. I still hope that Gennady Golovkin beats Danny Jacobs because I want to see him face Canelo Alvarez. I know Canelo Alvarez has that defense that will deal with Gennady Golovkin. Maybe Jacobs has that defense, and I've never seen it. But if Jacobs had that defense where he keeps that side-on defense, Kell Brooks showed you just have to roll the hooks. Roll the hooks. It's pretty simple. I mean, if Floyd was to fight Gennady Golovkin, he'd make that look so simple, and he'd make Golovkin look so slow, and he'll make Golovkin look like he's missing for miles. Because Floyd got that defense. Canelo got that defense to handle a boxer like that. Danny Jacobs need to keep his composure, stay calm, and work on Golovkin. Make sure Golovkin don't hit him on the hip and that kind of thing. Roll the punches, and he should be okay. Gennady Golovkin feasts off of hooks. That's what he does. He hook you, hook you to the head. He watch to see where you dip. He time the dip, and then he'll hit you with a punch. You look for the positioning. If you do something more than twice, he's picking up his data on you. You know what I'm saying? But as to Golovkin being someone who could be hit, of course he can be hit. His defense is not that great on point, and then he's kind of slow. So, Golovkin reminds me of a Danny Garcia who can cut off the ring very well. He's like a Danny Garcia to me. He's got lots of skill. He's got a lot of boxing ability. But he's slow. He depends on timing. You know what I mean? And he has a certain range as well where he's effective. Outside of that range, he's not very effective. So that's why he tries to cut off the ring. So I'm just breaking down Gennady Golovkin versus Danny Jacobs. Does Jacobs have a chance to beat Golovkin? Oh yeah, quite a chance. He got a real good chance of beating Golovkin. I just don't want him to beat Golovkin. So I want Canelo to beat Golovkin. But hey, if he spoils the party and he beats Golovkin, well, Golovkin should have taken that fight with Canelo at 155. What can I say? You guys have a great one.